Town of Canandaigua, New York, the warmth of the holidays always comes early to a magnificent stone castle called Sonnenberg, a magical site where celebrations of Christmases past are frozen in time.
This is almost a house that was built for holidays. I think what it shows is a mansion and a time when there was great splendor, when great pains were taken to decorate rooms, and great pains were taken to entertain in a lavish style.
Sonnenberg, which means sunny hill in German, was the country estate of Frederick Thompson, the son of a prominent New York financier. His wife, Mary Clark Thompson, was the daughter of New York Governor Myron Clark. In 1857, the young couple married and soon amassed a fortune when Frederick co-founded the First National Bank of the city of New York, the forerunner of today's Citibank. After 30 years of financial success, the Thompsons were able to build the stately Sonnenberg. Completed in 1887, this 40-room grand mansion soon became the couple's favorite seasonal retreat from their Madison Avenue home. With its sprawling Queen Anne style, the gray stone castle with red Medina sandstone trim was perfect for holiday entertaining.
The house is very, very proper for a party. It's very open. The rooms all open into each other nicely, and so it could handle a very large group.
The Thompsons were known for their stylish yet modest Christmas celebrations. A woman of noted reserve, Mrs. Thompson decorated Sonnenberg with an understated elegance to ensure guests would always be comfortable at Christmas.
When people came here, they didn't feel overwhelmed by grandeur. They felt like it was a warm, friendly home, almost like a hunting lodge.
The two-story Great Hall, with its medieval detailing and oak paneling, welcomed friends and family to the holiday celebrations. Guests warmed up in front of the 19th century andirons that graced the sandstone and wood fireplace. A pair of oak fireside benches with their acanthus leaf detailing was also the perfect seat to admire the 20-foot Christmas tree. Set in front of the leaded glass bay windows, the towering tree was filled with sparkling glass ornaments. In this room, with the open balconies, friends of the Thompsons would have been entertained with the sounds of the season. Before dinner, a charming and often humorous Mr. Thompson would sing next to the 1877 Steinway piano or play a ukulele. At the turn of the 20th century, visiting Sonnenberg in all its holiday splendor was a special Christmas tradition.
Your every need would have been catered to. They had many, many servants, 1 or 2 servants per person when they came for the holidays.
Christmas dinner at Sonnenberg meant sitting down to an elaborate feast. Turkey or pheasant would have been an annual tradition, served on Mrs. Thompson's original Sheraton-style mahogany dining room table. For the family, tall candelabras would illuminate a small selection of holiday gifts set atop the matching sideboard. After dinner, the billiard room with its masculine decor was a place for the men to retire. For the ladies, tea was served in the elegant drawing room. Here, arches adorned with seasonal greens and large windows with hanging gold ornaments provided a delicate touch behind the formal French Regency-style furniture. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson didn't have children of their own, but their nieces and nephews were always a welcome part of Christmas at Sonnenberg. With their own festive table, the children ate fresh fruit, a rarity afforded to only the wealthy. Candy was also a special treat, usually hung in small cornucopias on a nearby tree. Christmas was a magical time in Canandaigua, especially for children outside of Sonnenberg's gates.
At Christmas time, it was Mr. Thompson's great joy to provide the candy for the children at all the celebrations.
Today, Christmas at Sonnenberg honors the Thompsons' shining example of generosity. The grand mansion, elaborate gardens, and the 19th century conservatory radiate with Christmas charm and elegance.
We know that Mrs. Thompson did invite the public in to come see the gardens. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We open the big iron gates and we say, come on in and enjoy the holiday with us.
Holiday enchantment still sparkles at Sonnenberg, a majestic castle that echoes with the warmth of family and friends. A glorious home, rich with a tradition of giving, today rings out season's greetings to all. When we come back, an historic Wyoming landmark hosts a holiday open house Western style, next on Christmas Castles. In the shadow of Wyoming's Bighorn Mountains, a dusting of snow and a cold wind herald the arrival of Christmas to cowboy country. In the town of Sheridan in December 1913, a special excitement filled the air. The mansion of rancher John Kendrick had just been completed, and his neighbors waited with anticipation for an invitation to see the home in its holiday finery.
The family, regardless of the time of year, took pride in the house, and Christmas would be a special time. They knew they were having friends over, so of course the house would look perfect.
The home was built for John Kendrick, a rancher who made a fortune in land speculation and later became governor of Wyoming. A real maverick, Kendrick designed his home according to his own rules, combining neoclassical touches like a pediment and columns with curved gables in the Flemish Revival style. Most of the building materials came from outside the state of Wyoming.
He could have built probably of local brick and local wood and things, but he knew what he wanted. He wanted a large, grand house unlike anything else around. So he brought in the brick from Kansas and the limestone from Indiana and the granite foundations from Montana, and made something that you weren't going to see on every corner here in town. At
the time, it was the largest home in Wyoming, and Cowboy Kendrick named it Trail End. In 1913, Kendrick's wife, Eula, decorated for the family's first Christmas at Trail End. In the majestic front hall, poinsettias and garland graced the oak woodwork, which was custom-made using the latest machine tooling and cost $25,000, an astonishing sum at the time. That first year, a few days before Christmas, Mr. Kendrick and his daughter, Rosa May, returned from a visit to their ranch. When they arrived, the sparkling decorations were in place.
And they opened the door, and there everybody was putting everything together. The greenery was going up, and the flowers were placed around the house, and all of a sudden, it was Christmas. When they had left the house, it wasn't. By the time they got back, it was their first Christmas here, and just looking like it was supposed to look.
The Kendricks started a tradition of decorating Trail End with pine and flowers. In the drawing room, poinsettias and roses complemented the green in the hand-knotted Persian carpet and brought out the red in the silk brocade wall covering. It was here that the Kendrick family gathered on Christmas Eve to trim the tree with glass ornaments and electric lights. On Christmas morning, they sat in front of the Italian marble fireplace and opened lavish gifts.
And according to their daughter, the mother and father and grandparents would find a chair to sit down, and it would be up to the children, Manville and Rosa May, to ferry the gifts back and forth from the tree to the person to whom the gifts belonged.
Later, the family gathered for a meal in the mahogany-paneled dining room. A silver serving tureen was placed on a crochet lace tablecloth. Grandparents, cousins, and family friends all joined in Christmas dinner.
They could entertain quite a few people in the dining room. The table, when it had all of its leaves in it, would seat 24 people. And so you had 24 people, 24 chairs, 24 place settings, plus all the decorations. And so it could be a very lively, fun-filled, loud, probably, place to be.
But in 1913, the highlight of the holiday season was still to come: the New Year's open house. On January 1st, 1914, the Kendricks invited the whole town of Sheridan to tour their magnificent new home.
Well, the Kendricks, they were very egalitarian in how they entertained. They knew everyone in town, and everyone knew them. And opening their home was a way for them to say, come and see us and come and visit us, and we'll get to see you all at once. And it was open to the public. It wasn't by invitation. There was an announcement in the paper that said, our house will be open. Please come and see us. It doesn't matter who you are.
From cowboys to politicians, hundreds attended that first holiday open house at Trail End. To their surprise, they were escorted to the 3rd floor, where they found a ballroom with vaulted stucco ceilings and a Maryland maple dance floor. It was a holiday hoedown for the whole town. Today, Trail End continues to invite visitors to tour its rooms and share in its holiday cheer.
I love it. I think it's great. It's a house that comes alive. Of course, when you go through the house, the rugs are red and the walls are green because those were the colors they used. And so those are very Christmassy colors anyway. And when you put the ornaments out and the poinsettias and everything, the whole house comes alive.
Alive with the warmth of the holidays and with the spirit of a family who brought Christmas to cowboy country. Still ahead, in Michigan, the magnificent mansion and Christmas traditions of industrial giant Henry Ford. In Dearborn, Michigan, Christmas comes blanketed in white. The falling snow decorates the landscape for the holiday season, while a look inside this magnificent home reveals the warmth of Christmas. This storybook scene is the estate of one of the 20th century's most influential and popular figures, Henry Ford. The picturesque mansion and forested grounds provided a refuge where Ford could spend quiet moments with his loved ones.
They built Fairlane because they simply could not live the kind of public life that, and have a private life at the same time, because people were literally camping on their doorstep.
Starting in 1908, Henry Ford revolutionized the industrial world with the mass production of his Model T automobile. The fortune he made allowed Ford to build this mansion in 1914. He named his dream house Fairlane, after the road to the fairgrounds in County Cork, Ireland, the home of Ford's ancestors.
Well, it was obviously very, very special. We called it the residence.
Today, this majestic residence shines brightly during the holidays. Visitors are greeted in the foyer with garland and bows, wrapping the main staircase's magnificent 23-foot balustrade, which was carved from a single piece of oak.
They created some of the most lovely woodworking, wood carving in the Midwest here as you go through it. Some of the most beautiful marble, and makes great backdrop for florists to decorate and for us to appreciate the beauty that exists.
Christmas was a time for simple pleasures at Fairlane. The Fords had only one Christmas tree inside the entire 56-room mansion. It was located in Henry Ford's favorite place, the rustic field room. It rose next to the striking fireplace built out of stones from an 18th century tavern. Today, sparkling Christmas trimmings top the wooden mantel, inscribed with advice for the cold Christmas season. Chop your own wood, and it will warm you twice. The Fords chose this cozy room as the center of their holiday celebrations.
One of the things that Henry and Clara insisted on was that the house really be a warm home, that they could live in it, not a marble museum where people and grandchildren felt uncomfortable.
Christmas dinner was served in the home's spectacular dining room. There, the warmth of their family celebration was rivaled only by the room's warm setting. Rich rose-leaf mahogany walls create an atmosphere that is both elegant and welcoming.
All of it reflect Ford's love of intimacy in terms of his family, but at the same time, his recognition that he needed to entertain presidents and presidential commissions and princes and princesses as he did there at Fairlane.
Flowers were only one way Henry Ford's love of nature was incorporated into Fairlane's Christmas celebrations. As an avid bird conservationist, Ford made sure a special outdoor tree was decorated for his feathery friends. Natural ornaments like suet and seeds still dangle from the branches, providing a Christmas feast for birds facing the wintry season. Henry Ford used his vast fortune to build a magnificent mansion, and the Fords were sure to fill their spacious home with warmth and friendship, especially during the holidays. Coming up, the tradition of turning Henry Ford's majestic Michigan estate into a holiday playground for children. That's next on Christmas Castles. Just outside of Detroit, Michigan, the town of Dearborn has grown around a magnificent estate. It's called Fairlane, and it was the majestic refuge of automobile magnate Henry Ford.
He very much got in the spirit of giving and sharing and helping young people to have a good time.
The children of Dearborn were invited to Fairlane for an unforgettable Christmas tradition. A sleigh ride through the woods on the estate was only the beginning of the festivities, for the children would soon meet a man more famous than Henry Ford himself.
Along the way, there was lights and very Christmassy, and came up to Santa's workshop. And there in the doorway of Santa's workshop was Santa.
Today, the tradition of Santa's workshop continues at Fairlane. Children are taken to a miniature farmhouse Henry Ford built for the 1924 Michigan State Fair. Garland and lights decorate the tiny house, created entirely to scale, even down to the wood-burning stove and sewing machine. Ford wanted children living in the city to experience the farm life he knew as a child. Each Christmas, children are invited to visit with Santa and open presents. In the small kitchen, they are served oyster stew, Clara Ford's famous Christmas delicacy. Many Merry Christmases were spent at the Ford spectacular estate. But a letter written by their only child, Edsel, tells of days before Ford's success, when the family couldn't afford to spend Christmas in luxury.
And it's addressed, Dear Santa, we haven't had a Christmas tree in 4 years, and all our trimmings are broke.
Years later, Henry and Clara's son was grown, and they had made enough money to keep all their trimmings well intact. But they never forgot their son's letter and how important Christmas was to children.
It was a very special time, and Mr. Ford had obviously gone to a lot of effort to create this special time.
The Christmas spirit Henry Ford shared was nearly as tremendous as the legacy he left. And despite his wealth and power, he never forgot the true meaning of Christmas, making the open house festivities at Fairlane his yearly gift to the community. It became a holiday gathering place for festive celebrations, as warm and unforgettable as the spectacular estate itself. The holiday season is a time for tradition, and many of our country's grandest and historic mansions remember and honor Christmases past, allowing us to experience the rich history of the holiday season in America's Christmas castles. As colonial Williamsburg, Virginia readies itself for the holiday season, a nearby estate is wrapped in the tradition and spirit of Christmas. Carter's Grove is a country estate that is a monument to colonial Virginia. Resting along the banks of the James River, the Colonial Revival Mansion was originally built in 1750, and it was restored to its current grandeur in the late 1920s by Archibald and Molly McCrae, wealthy heirs to railroad and tobacco fortunes. For the McCraes, the home was the perfect retreat for their 5 daughters and frequent guests. The house remained in the family until the 1960s and is now a colorful memorial to times past. Today's visitors see Carter's Grove dressed in Christmas 1940, the McCrae's heyday in the home. This 12,000 square foot residence was the site of lavish celebrations, and their historic estate was trimmed with colonial touches, including local greenery and fossilized shells from the sands of the James River.
When the McCraes lived at Carter's Grove, Christmas was very special. They were entertaining, they had their family coming and spending time with them.
For those who visit Carter's Grove today, the Great Hall is where Christmas comes to life. Floral bouquets welcome guests to the season, while white pine roping lines the sweeping 18th century black walnut staircase. Yellow pine paneling from the Revival period plays elegant host to a special Christmas visitor, a 13-foot blue spruce from the mountains of southwest Virginia. The giant tree harkens back to Christmases past with the colonial traditions of popcorn and paper dolls, mixed with glass-blown ornaments from the 1930s.
I think when you walk into Carter's Grove, Christmas greets you in all of your senses. You can imagine the cookies baking back in the kitchen.
For the McCraes, Christmas was a time to entertain, and glamorous evenings took place in their exquisite dining room, with important visitors and well-connected friends.
The Christmas parties at Carter's Grove were very grand. People were coming from Philadelphia, arriving by train in their private cars.
Here, high society rang in the season with a candlelit table that was graced by the finest silver and china, which was only fitting for such distinguished celebrations. Even for American royalty, an invitation to a McCrae holiday party was a special event.
When John D. Rockefeller Jr. was invited for the first time to come to Carter's Grove, he was so excited that he called up Mrs. McCrae very late at night, the night before, and said, "I'm sorry to disturb you, but I just wanted to tell you how excited I am to be coming to Carter's Grove."
Entertaining on a grand scale was nothing new for the McCraes, and the formal sitting room was the perfect place for tea with distinguished holiday guests. An 18th century imported Italian marble fireplace, flanked by English fire screens, glows with holiday spirit, while Mrs. McCrae's understated elegance shines through in the simple decorations. A regal atmosphere fills the colonial-style room, where England's Queen Mother was once the McCrae's special guest of honor. And while many of the mansion's rooms echoed with holiday entertainment, another sitting room was quietly reserved for family and close friends. Mrs. McCrae's tasteful sense of decorating made sure that Christmas did not overwhelm.
Do you think of more of an elegant, simple type of decoration throughout the house?
For the McCrae's, Christmas morning was a personal time and was sure to include presents flowing beneath the family's cedar tree. Cut right from the property, this tree was decked with glass balls and beads that spoke to the style of the 1930s and 40s. White poinsettias and traditional southern magnolia leaves filled the hearth. But in this room, the focal point of graceful holiday entertaining was a linen-laced table filled with seasonal treats and a 19th century Sheffield silver-plated epergne filled with Christmas candy creations. As in most homes, Christmas at the McCrae estate was a time for children. One of the home's 10 bedrooms would have been transformed into a joyful celebration for the young and young at heart. The McCraes were sure to gather the most popular toys of the era, with a Lionel train set and Shirley Temple doll, the best that Santa and his elves had to offer. For the McCraes, the season never overshadowed their most treasured gift, the gift of family and friends.
I think the Christmas tradition at Carter's Grove was very strong. It is a time of gathering of the family here, and I think this was all very important, and it's not only reflected in their Christmas traditions, but the very fact that the house is very traditional.
For today's visitors, Carter's Grove is a study in grace, family, and tradition, a country estate whose holiday atmosphere holds strong to its colonial past, while giving guests a glimpse of an early 20th century Christmas that reflects the spirit and joy of the season. When we come back, a grand Texas home celebrates the holiday legacy of two cattle fortune families.
This is really Texas big, but also very warm and inviting.
An impressive mansion decorated with Lone Star style is next on Christmas Castles. The December sky of the Lone Star State radiates with Christmas cheer in Fort Worth, Texas. Sparkling reminders of holiday tradition cast their glow everywhere on Main Street and bring the city alive with the spirit of Christmas. A short distance from downtown, another tradition fills the streets. The days of the great cattle drives are part of this region's heritage, a time when fortunes were made and cattle barons built Texas-sized mansions to match their new wealth. One of the grand examples is Thistle Hill. The 11,000-square-foot home bears impressive Tuscan columns that accentuate the home's height. Completed in 1904, it was the first home of newlyweds Electra and A.B. Wharton. Electra was part of a new generation of wealthy Texans, the daughter of cattle king Tom Wagner, a self-made millionaire seen here at camp with Teddy Roosevelt. After her 1902 marriage, Electra chose to live in Fort Worth to be near her family. The couple's first Christmas at Thistle Hill was in 1904. Decked out for the holidays, the mansion was a scene of splendor befitting this new Texas aristocracy.
The house is so beautiful throughout the year, but it looks especially grand and inviting at Christmas time.
It was a home designed to dazzle visitors. Holiday guests entered through the stately reception hall with its coffered ceiling, styled after the 14th century Gothic period. Here, a sweeping view of the double staircase made a grand impression. Draped in garlands for Christmas, the golden oak steps are 14 feet wide at the base. High above, original stenciling on the ceiling captures the imagination of Christmas visitors.
This is beautiful. This is really Texas big, but also very warm and inviting.
The Wharton home was open to family and friends throughout the holidays. Family members say those customs have been passed on to today's generations.
When I walk in here, I feel family tradition, and I love everything that this house represents, the time and the closeness of family.
The men of the family often retired to the library following Christmas dinners. Designed in arts and crafts style, the room also reflects the Whartons' romance, with a zinced and leaded wedding ring pattern in its oak bookcases. Richly embellished with garlands of burgundy and gold, it is a room that warms even the chilliest December evening. Ladies gathering for holidays were at home in the parlor, a feminine room of French Louis XV furniture. Decorated in period colors of soft mauve and ivory, the parlor is festively adorned with rose Christmas decorations. holiday cheer sparkles on the towering Christmas tree that nearly touches the 14-foot ceiling of this exquisite room. In old Texas, a billiard room was a true symbol of social status. Thistle Hill's dramatic pool room features a coffered ceiling of bog oak imported from Ireland. Today's Christmas decorations of deep red complement the room's English Gothic design and colors. The Whartons enjoyed several Christmases here until a generous Christmas gift in 1909 resulted in a change for Thistle Hill. Electra and her husband were given a portion of her father's ranch, a Christmas gift valued at $20 million today. But Thistle Hill retained its cattle baron legacy. The Winfield Scott family, ranchers whose wealth also came from the cattle drive days, bought the grand mansion. Mrs. Scott's glass lamp still holds a place in the library, and her chairs of mid-European Renaissance design await holiday visitors in the billiard room.
Guests at Thistle Hill often feel the presence of the Whartons and the Scotts because this is such a personal home, such an intimate home.
It is a graceful home that has earned its place in Texas heritage.
This house reminds me of how blessed we are as a family, and it brings back so many memories of just a comfortable feeling when I walk in here of home and family.
Like Texas and its traditions, Thistle Hill is a bright and shining star that radiates with warmth and hospitality, especially during the holidays. When we return, we'll visit Thomas Edison's majestic mansion in New Jersey, a Queen Anne home that has glowed with Christmas spirit for generations. That's next on Christmas Castles. It's a sign of the times. Colorful Christmas lights signal the holiday season, but it wasn't always this way. Bright bulbs are a modern tradition sparked by the famous man who lived inside this massive Queen Anne mansion in West Orange, New Jersey, Thomas Edison. By the 1880s, Edison's inventions had touched many lives, and his name was known around the world. But this wealthy American legend celebrated the holiday season simply, surrounded by his family and friends. Edison purchased Glenmont with its elaborate gingerbread trim for his second wife, Mina Miller, in 1886.
When he purchased it, he said that it was really too good for him, but not half good enough for his wife.
The Edison's home was already decorated in the opulent Victorian style, popular at the time, and was furnished by the prestigious New York firm of Potier and Stymus. But at Christmas time, Mina made an extra effort to give the home an elegant holiday theme.
She really wanted to create something that was cozy, something that was warm, to celebrate the holidays.
Mrs. Edison decorated the 29-room mansion using evergreen sprays, generous garlands, and fresh wreaths in the windows. The first signs of Mrs. Edison's holiday touch start in the front hall. The dramatic entry is emphasized by a stately staircase draped with a sweeping evergreen garland. A stunning 19th century stained glass window adds festive color to the scene. The reception room is where Mina hosted holiday parties, serving tea with her Tiffany silver and monogrammed napkins. The electric candlesticks were sure to cast her guests in a good light.
And it was really an honor to come and have tea with Mina in the reception room.
Mina loved Christmas carols and might have invited her guests to join in a sing-along while she played the 1882 Mason and Hamlin foot pedal organ. Even even without the organ, the nights at Glenmont and at homes around the world would no longer be silent thanks to the phonograph her husband had invented. The Edisons' visitors in the reception room might also have been able to catch a glimpse of Mr. Edison's electric Christmas tree. The inventor had his electricians come up from the lab each year and custom wire his tree, which in the late 1800s was truly unheard of.
Christmas lights on a tree would have been the most amazing spectacle that perhaps most of the people in town had never even seen before.
Those colorful bulbs must have delighted the Edisons' three children, Madeline, Charles, and Theodore.
They really believed that Christmas time was a time to spend with the children and that it was a very family-oriented time.
Much of that family time was spent in the dining room. 9 leaves could be added to the mahogany table to seat as many as 30 people. Mina's monogrammed fruit cups would rest atop the Haviland and Limoges china, and 10 to 12 courses would have been served for Christmas dinner. Of course, the most exciting event was Christmas morning, and the Edisons definitely had their own family traditions, especially Mina.
We know on Christmas morning sometimes she would get up and she would ring bells before everyone got up in the morning, so it was very clear that she was very excited about the holidays.
Mina's enthusiasm easily spread to the rest of the household. After all, her home was an American trendsetter. It was the first to feature recorded Christmas carols and twinkling Christmas lights, 2 innovations that were thrilling in the 1880s. And today, Glenmont, the Edison Mansion, remains one of America's grand holiday homes. When we come back, Glenmont may have been the home of Thomas Edison, but on Christmas Day, it was just like any other American household. The intimate Christmas traditions in one of America's great historic homes when Christmas castles reached Glenmont, a massive Victorian mansion in West Orange, New Jersey, was the home of an international celebrity in 1886, the wealthy and well-known Thomas Edison. But when it came to Christmas morning, the Edisons had their own traditions, like any other American family. The children would rush to the second floor, where a Tiffany lamp cast a golden glow over their father's desk. Evergreen swags framed the family living room, where the children would find their wool flannel stockings hanging on a fireplace topped with a Tiffany clock. But soon, the Edison children would race downstairs to bigger and better things. The 10-foot-tall tree would fill the room with its electric glow, its star nearly touching the delicate hand-painted mural on the ceiling. But what was under the tree is what truly excited the Edison children.
We know that Mina was quite the shopper in New York for the children, particularly at FAO Schwartz, where she purchased a lot of their toys when they were growing up.
Although Mina Edison made sure every holiday detail was perfect in her opulent home, her shopping was a little less elaborate for her husband.
Mina had a favorite gift to give Thomas Edison. She would give him silk handkerchiefs, and Edison would say that that was his favorite gift from Mina.
Years later, Mina gave future generations the ultimate gift when in the 1940s she designated that Glenmont would be a memorial to her late husband. Now, visitors can share the Victorian holiday spirit of the Edisons and learn more about the man who gave us the gift of holiday lights and music and made all of our Christmases bright. In America's most magnificent historic homes, Christmas comes wrapped in elaborate packaging. With colorful attention to detail and respect for the past, holiday tradition and spirit still radiate from these majestic Christmas castles.
just what it takes to turn the home of the President and First Lady into a holiday wonderland on our special White House Christmas 2002. Tonight at 8, 7 Central on HGTV.